is America.
America!
I do love America.
Be a part of the show at 850-233-9988. The Kramer Show on NewsTalk at 101.
Just after 7 o'clock. Welcome into the show, everybody. Phone lines are open for you to call up and get on the air with Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team and ask one of the brightest attorneys I've ever met questions about your specific situation. By the way, you know what? Real quick, before we get started, I wanted to put you on the spot and ask you a question about something that's in the news. Hold on, I didn't have you piled up. Good morning, first of all. How are you?
I'm great, man. Fire away, my friend.
And by the way, have you played any tennis lately? You're an ex-tennis pro. Do you do weekly? I would assume that you probably keep yourself in shape by doing weekly matches and stuff, right?
I do, in fact. A little working out, little tennis, little yoga. I mean, all of the above, man. You got to stay fit.
You do yoga.
That stuff will change your life.
I keep hearing that. You know, I saw a video the other day of this guy that Joe Rogan was talking about. And he was talking about this guy, I think it was a vet, and he had hip issues and he had weight issues, really big time. And this yoga guy got a hold of him, and it went through the whole process of him from day one. And in 1 year's time, 365 days, he went from a guy who could barely get up off the couch and walk out of the room to one of the fittest guys you've ever seen, all from yoga. It was really an inspiration.
It's extraordinary what that will do in terms of opening you up, certain exercises to make you be able to breathe better. And it's just an interesting exercise that's combined with other things that you do, whether it's, riding a bike or walking or running or working out. That it's a nice compliment. It really, really works well.
I wanted to pick your brain because there's so much, as I talk to people about Epstein, I'm amazed at how many people really believe and buy into some of the conspiracy theories. I'm really amazed at some of the people in your life. When you start talking to them, you find out that, holy crap, they buy into it. With Epstein, this autopsy, they came back and they said that there are bones that were broken in his neck. Yeah, it could be because of suicide, but mainly that's usually in that age person, it could be murder, strangulation. I just want to get your general thoughts on the whole Epstein thing.
Sure. I mean, the entire thing's a mess. Obviously, he should not have been in a position where he could commit suicide. He should have been on suicide watch. There is limitations to how long you can have somebody on suicide watch. It is somewhat nefarious that you have the guards lying about, watching him when they didn't watch him and falsifying records and things like that. I mean, that kind of stuff is really, unfortunate. And the conspiracy theories are going to continue about him until they give the autopsy report. But broken neck bones means you have to have some sort of violence associated with, the death. And just the whole thing is just a mess. I mean, obviously, he knew a lot of very super high-ranking people who were involved in some of his activities. And I don't think it's a secret to anybody that a lot of people would have been exposed at the highest levels, and that there was secret rejoicing when the guy was found dead by some of these co-conspirators and higher-ups. I think it will make the cases easier, actually, for the victims, not harder, because in the civil arena, there'll be no way he can testify that it didn't occur. And so all people are going to file suits, and I'll bet you're going to see people coming out of the woodwork that, may not even have claims, who are going to claim that they were part of this, mass abuse so they can cash in. The estate has a lot of money, and so I just think you're going to see an escalation of lawsuits and people making all kinds of claims. But very much what you're seeing in the, investigation of the investigators surrounding the Russian collusion debacle. You're going to see a lot of things come out with the connections of many, many people involved in this horrific scheme, and you're going to hear a lot more, just like you're going to hear, when the Office of Inspector General comes out and finds out and reports that Comey repeatedly lied in order to get these FISA warrants and things that are really, really distressing about what went on, and the Nellie Orr and the conspiracy that was going on inside of our government to try to sabotage a presidency. And it's just really unfortunate when you see what's going on today, and then you see, a report from some Google insider that now that Google was suppressing all of the, conservative views and running an algorithm that would intentionally suppress certain, sites and certain things. It's just, you hope it's not true, and it's just unfortunate that, we just want the display of fair and debatable ideas, and you just want to be able to trust that our government is doing the right thing and that there is not some corrupt, horrible, nefarious thing going on like we seem to be exposing. And all these people who are coming out and saying that, these things were never occurring, and that there wasn't this falsity that was going on, there wasn't this corruption that went on, is extraordinary. You notice how a lot of these, the Comey-like people aren't in the news every day. They're not on CNN every day touting about how they're wonderful people, as this corruption scheme goes deeper, and you and I find out more and more about what the reality of things are. And I think you're going to find when this report comes out from the Inspector General, and I predict it will come out in, my prediction is 4 weeks, you're going to see some exposure of corruption at the highest levels in the way in which this was handled. And as more and more documents are leaked out, you're going to find out a lot of things were going on. So I think Epstein is just a microcosm of what's going on in the world in terms of the exposure of corruption. And I think there's a lot of people that are glad that he's passed away. And I don't mean the victims. You know what I mean?
Well, absolutely. Let me ask you this. In a situation... In a situation, because I just, as you're talking, I'm looking at Good Morning America. It's broadcast here in front of me, and they're saying that the first accusers have now filed lawsuits against the estate of Epstein. How does that work? In other words, this guy had all of this money, and I don't know where it is or how it's held up or what, but what happens when somebody files a lawsuit against an estate of someone who's, not on the planet anymore?
What happens is that the estate essentially becomes a bank. They collect all of the funds into one arena. These accusers are going to sue. Almost all of them are going to win because Epstein is not going to be able to say it didn't occur. They're going to have to find people who are going to deny these people's allegations. It's going to be extremely difficult. I think the lawyers who are representing the accusers are already popping champagne because they know there's going to be very little opposition. There is a groundswell in the public eye about, how horrific this is. So what will happen is they will file a lawsuit, or lawsuits will be filed, probably hundreds of them. And then what they will do is they will get on the stand and say that this occurred. They'll say that Epstein did it to them. And then people are going to have to accept what they say because Epstein's not going to be able to say it didn't happen. And all these other co-conspirators and people who are recruiting, there's a bunch of people that Epstein was paying to actually go out and find the girls.
Yeah.
And what they'll probably do is try to file civil conspiracy, and probably there'll be criminal conspiracy, but civil conspiracy counts against them, saying that they colluded with him and conspired with him in order to get all these girls. And you're going to find that this is a much more significant process than just Epstein calling a girl up and saying, come over. You're going to find it an all orchestrated thing because he was using it for power and for connections. He had his own island. He was inviting all kinds of dignitaries and wealthy people from all over the world to come to his island, to have these sex orgies and things like this. So you're going to find that other people are going to be involved, other people are going to be named, and it's going to expose people, including, I believe, a lot of public figures. And so That's the way it happens procedurally, is that they sue the estate and they proceed as if, the estate was the defendant, and then these guys are going to secure, tens of millions of dollars of judgments, if not hundreds of millions. And then along with that, you're going to see all these creditors, whatever creditors are out there, are going to make claims. But I think there's a big pot of gold for a lot of these victims that they're going to be some cashing in. So it's going to be a race to the courthouse and a race to the judgment, because whoever gets there first is going to get the money, because the money's going to quickly go. But you're going to see a lot of lawyers hired to defend, and they're going to spend lots of money. So there'll be a lot going on. But I think it'll be interesting what is uncovered in the civil litigation and in the in the criminal investigation, because I think that you're going to see from the government side that they're not going to be satisfied with closing this case. So now there's going to be an even more acute desire, an aggressive desire, to go after people connected to Epstein, whereas before, Epstein probably would have rolled over and told on these people, much like some of these Ponzi schemers that roll on other people, that I think that he would have exposed and told other people. Now you're going to see the criminal authorities, the government get involved and actually really, really strongly and aggressively go after these conspirators, because they want to put a face on this for the public. They want to show that they're not standing for this. And so these participants, willing and unwilling, are going to be investigated fully, and anybody who had anything to do with this is probably going to either be indicted or be severely investigated and forced to roll on other people and expose who was there, when they were there, and what this entire scheme was made up of.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because in that regard, him being dead, wouldn't it be harder to implicate people that, say went to the island and partook of, the orgies and all that stuff? He isn't alive, so it's going to be harder for people to be implicated. So I guess in that vein, it's going to be interesting to see legally how that progresses forward. Because look, we've all heard the rumors about the Black Book, and we've also heard the rumors about the girlfriend and how she was told by Epstein to go out and get these girls and how to do it. I'm more interested in the actual logistics of how in the hell do you do that? They say that sex trafficking in this country, it would blow everybody's mind if we actually knew the numbers. And, you have like a 15, 16-year-old girl, and then she gets approached online. She's having a bad life, she feels like, and then they take her and she's, quote, kidnapped. And then before you know it, she's on Epstein's island. That kind of crap that's coming out about people is just heart-wrenching, but it's so wild that it went on for so long.
You're going to find that not only did it go on, but you're going to find that Epstein had almost very little to do with it, in the sense that he just threw money at this entire corporation, if you will, that was the business of getting all these people there, because that was the way he connected with all these riches. You went out, you get an island, you have a bunch of girls there, and then you just keep inviting all these people. So you're going to find that he probably had very little to do with the orchestration and a lot more to do with just meeting with the people and enjoying the time there. And so you're going to find an entire, I believe, group of people that were running this operation and being paid handsomely to do it, but running this operation and bringing these girls in. And yes, the sex trafficking is incredibly high. In fact, it's incredibly high on the border. I mean, when you think about how much sex trafficking is going on, when you can bring all these people over, and everybody wants the walls down, or on the left, it would stun you how much abuse is going on and how much sex trafficking is going on, bringing people up through the border. That's second only to drugs. It's one of the most prevalent things that's going on. So, yeah, I think you're going to find that it exposes things, and I think you're going to find an incredible acute awareness and aggressiveness that's going to be on the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to find people that did wrong and publicly expose them. And I think you're going to see that this is going to stay in the light. And I think when you combine that with what is going on with what's being exposed as a result of the Mueller probe, I think you're going to find that people are going to be extremely upset at what government officials what high-ranking FBI and other officials were allowed to do, and how they ran this secret operation to try to overthrow a sitting president, I think you're going to find it's going to upset everyone. And I think Democrats are as equally upset as Republicans are, even if they don't want to admit it, when they have people like Comey and other people at the highest levels who are alleged to have repeatedly lied to the FISA court to keep the warrant, or were touting the credibility of somebody they knew who was incredible, who was not credible. I think it is just sad. And I think the hopefulness of this with our President Attorney General is that what they're going to do is they're going to expose some of this nefarious and horrible behavior. And what they're going to do is they're going to be able to stop it and shoot, kind of a shot across the bow of those who might unilaterally try to take over the government. Because what you had happen was a terrible, terrible abuse of power by those in office who were trying to unseat a president. And it's just awful, because whether you're for Trump or not, whether you like him or not, the idea that somebody could spy on you at will, the idea that somebody could ruin you at will, the idea that our government is, secretly being run, this deep state mentality is being run, is scary. And it should be scary to every single human being that is out there. And everybody shouldn't be a political thing. Everybody should say, I don't want that. I wouldn't want that kind of unilateral decision being made at the highest levels, that we're going to create this insurance policy, or we're going to stack, the Mueller report people with a bunch of people who are anti-Trump, as opposed to just getting investigators. And you all saw what Mueller was like when he testified. I mean, it was really embarrassing and sad, because everybody had this belief system that this guy was a genius, intelligent guy who was going to come in and really be articulate. And I don't think anybody honestly believes that he did a good job. I don't think anybody came out of that. In fact, most people came out and said, oh, my God, what's wrong with him?
Yeah.
And he didn't remember some of the main facts. He didn't even know who a GPS fusion GPS was. I mean, and again, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you sit on. It just was just sad that he really almost seemed like he didn't even, he wasn't even involved in it. He was just a figurehead. And I think that, we want, full investigations to happen in order to really, to be fair and honest, and to instill confidence in our system.
Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. Stand by, more to come with Scott next.
This is better than anything else on the air in the mornings in Panama City.
Hear that? Maybe he's not so great. Maybe he sucks.
More with Kramer in the morning, next on NewsTalk at 101. Now live.
Special program live from Uranus.
And local in the morning, right here in Panama City. This is Kramer in the morning on NewsTalk at 101.
All right, Scott Major's on with us from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. I have to apologize. I started talking to Scott. We can talk about anything. We started talking about the Epstein thing, and then we start rolling into more political stuff. I get launched out there into the ether, listening to him. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. If you want to hop on the air and pick his brain about post-Hurricane Michael stuff, 850-233-9988, 850-233-9988, stormhelpteam.org. I wonder how many people you've actually helped during the last 10 months. I wonder how many local people you've actually come across. I was thinking about that. I was stuck in traffic, I think, yesterday, and I was wondering about that. You must have, I know Brian, your partner, Mr. Parúas, I know that he does a lot of the calling to the insurance companies, but I'm sure you probably have to have more than just you and he doing that. You probably have a major staff doing that.
We do, and it probably is in the thousands, and I would assume that, from the many people that we've not only helped, in terms of legal remedies, in terms of all the education, the seminars, the radio, there's probably thousands and thousands of people that have have been affected, and hopefully in a positive way. And, I just think that it's so important for all of us to get educated so that we, can level the playing field with insurance companies that do this for a living. And you and I have talked about this for 10 months, and most people, were honorable, trusting people that assumed that their insurance company would immediately pay them in the first month after the storm. And they are now realizing that, many of them are not, getting results. And there are so many people that have been delayed in payment and don't know the complaint process, or so many people that have been reported by the insurance company to have had a closed claim that they were satisfied, and yet they weren't fully paid. And it's not about bashing the insurance company or being mean to them. It's about being truthful and being honest and honestly reporting what is going on here. And you and I would love nothing more than to be talking politics and not be talking about property damage, claims against the insurance company, and be saying, isn't it phenomenal that these insurance companies have all responded, and instead of 1,000 lawsuits or thousands of lawsuits being filed, that instead there's only, 6 lawsuits. And you and I are talking more about the insurance that people need to get rather than the fact that insurance companies are not fully paying. And I can tell you from the many suits that we have filed, it's extraordinary to me how many phone calls I'm getting from the insurance company and its lawyers begging us for a demand or a number. And the first thought I have when I get that is, wow, you're actually now deciding to pay because Scott Major's involved? Where were you 8 months ago when the same demand was being made through either a public adjuster or through the individual consumer? Where were you? And I think that, that's a sad commentary on what is going on, that I'm getting call after call from insurance companies essentially begging, saying, don't spend a lot of money, Mr. Major. We don't want to have to pay you. Yeah. We'll finally pay what we originally obligated to pay. And that's really sad. And that's why I encourage every single person to get a lawyer and get the lawsuit filed if you haven't been paid.
I was going to say, let's pick that back up on the other side.
This is the Kramer Show on Panama City's information station, NewsTalk at 101. You're not dreaming. He's really back. He's really back. Back to Kramer in the morning on NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team with us. You can reach out off the air and call up his office, pick their ear, get them on your side, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. Scott, I want to pick your brain on this. I'm sure you have some things to say about it. A lot of local people are less than thrilled with how some of the local, regional, and, for that matter, federal, national politicians have handled Hurricane Michael. And I was talking about it earlier. I don't know what the protocol is in a storm hit area like us and what normally happens. My question to you, though, is every show that we've done, we do 2 a week. We've been doing it for closing in on a year. Every show we talk about the insurance companies and how they are sitting on their hands, sometimes nefarious ways that they prolong paying people or not paying people at all, holding back payments. How is it that the politicians are their hands tied? Can no one do anything to kind of untangle all of this crap? Is there just nothing that say, any of the politicians can do to? Because to me, it almost seems criminal. We've said that on the air many, many times, right?
Yes, I see the slow-moving wheels, after all these storms. And what I encourage people to do is to get every single person in this city or this county, thousands and thousands of people, to pick up a phone and call their local, state, and federal representative and say, where's the money? And what are you doing about the money? And to write the legislators and to put pressure on them to show them that you have a vote and your vote's going to matter in the coming election. and they need to process this or provide you with an explanation. I think if more and more people spoke out and didn't think that they were impotent, but instead got together as a group, if everybody was calling their legislator, their representative, if everyone was writing them and you had thousands of letters, thousands of phone calls, you would see a more prompt response if they coordinated with the Channel 13s and other local organizations and either went out and with signs or talked to the news about, what is going on and demanding results. I think what would happen is that exposure would put sufficient pressure on people to distribute money in a more quick and more expedited fashion. I think people give a lip service. Your congressmen and representatives give lip service to, we're getting money for your region. What does that mean? Does that mean the actual money gets distributed into the system? If it is, why 10 months later do we have so few dollars? Now, having said that, there are federal and state dollars that have come into your area. And I think it would be good to get educated as to what those dollars are so you would know that it's not that no money has come in. It's that why is certain city and government and other related buildings and structures and other things, why haven't they responded? Why haven't we had more local support for housing? Why didn't we bring in temporary structures? Why didn't we drive in all of those RVs that were sitting empty across the country and use them for housing for people? Why didn't we bring in more supplies and more water? We need to have those questions answered. And I think when you're not making them acute, when you're not putting them in front of these people, it doesn't become a priority for them amongst their other issues. That's my thoughts.
No, I kind of I understand that, and I understand that if you don't live here, I mean, we all have friends all over the country from here, and we always have conversations about how other people, even as close to us as people in Destin, don't really know what we're going through, and I get that because it's not on your television screen every day. It's not. I mean, I get that, but when you are a local politician. Or when you are a state politician and when you're a federal, at the federal level, member of Congress or whatever, you should know what's going on here. And there should be, to me, more talk about it, more explaining, more trying, more ideas, etc. But when it comes to the insurance companies, it seems like everybody, it's weird because it just seems like you're going to take it on the chin, whether you like it or not. And the only alternative that you have, is to hire Scott Major or an attorney. That's really the only option that you have at this point. And to me, that's ludicrous.
I think you're right, and I think that it is tragic, and I think the only way that's going to be solved, there's only two ways it's going to be solved. The first way it's going to be solved is for people to make the noise that I'm talking about. The second thing that's going to be solved is imagine, instead of 1,000 claims, I had 20,000 claims. In other words, imagine if every single person who was in the Panhandle was hiring Scott Major, and we were getting the kind of results we were getting, and then I became the spokesperson for the community, and I was able to leverage what I had and get on a soapbox and talk to the state and the federal authorities, and they would listen to me because I had enough support behind me. Imagine what I could do to help the community even further, and I would be more than happy to get on the soapbox and rally for the troops and do everything we can to support this kind of ingress of money and reinvestment and to find out and have accountability. But it's just difficult when you and I are sitting around, the table or at a restaurant and trying to figure out why it is that we're the little guy who's rendered impotent and can't do anything about it. We have to gang together as a group and we have to put pressure. That's the nature of government. All these people who want all this government recognize what you get when you get the government. You get a big, giant ship that has a very slow turning radius. And so if you want things to get done, we have to get together as groups and we have to speak out. And people like you who have done a nice job of it are bringing it to the forefront, and more people that are complaining will get results. It's the same thing, Kramer, that you and I talk about when we say you need to make complaints when you're not being paid on your property damage claims. Because, as you heard from Petronas and others, when they don't know how many complaints there are, when they don't know how many bad vendors there are, when there's not public displays of these complaints, sometimes the ignorance factor comes in, and they just don't know how bad it is, even though you and I know how bad it is. So it's so important for people to get experts involved, to make sure that in every one of your claims, every listener who thinks they've been paid fully, have they been paid for their windows? And if they haven't, they need to reopen their claim and have somebody look at them. Has every single person who's been out there, trying to get their money, have they been fully paid? And if not, do they have an explanation that makes sense to them, that sounds logical, that points to a particular clause in the insurance policy that says, this is why I'm not paying you all of the money, not just some settlement that they thought they had to take because they got bad advice from some contractor or whoever it is that didn't give them the right advice. So the best things we can do is get as educated as possible, be as verbal as we can, write our local government and federal government officials, and pursue these claims with aggression to let them know that we're here and we're not going anywhere.
You know what's crazy is my wife and I seem to have a weekly conversation about issues at the house, and we still are seeing things that we didn't notice before. In the back part of our home, there are two doors that open up and they go out into the pool area. And she was walking through the hall the other day and she said, "Have you noticed that?" And I said, "What?" And she points. And I'm like, "No, I don't even know what you're talking about." And she goes, "Do you not see the space between those two doors?" And I look and I go, "Holy crap. There's a big, huge gap between the two doors that open up." So I had not seen that. And then we were walking out to the driveway the other day and she goes, "Have you seen?" And I turn around and she points to the garage. And the top part of the garage, I don't know, there's probably like about an inch between the molding part of the garage and the home itself. It's weird because it's like the whole shell of the garage just went down an inch. And then I'm walking in the mailbox and she goes, "Have you and this is all in the past week. Have you noticed these cracks in the driveway?" And I look and I'm like, where did that come from? How did that happen? So there are things that people are seeing now or will see in the future that, in the structures that they have, whether it be business, a home, or a shed or whatever. those types of things, you talk about that often, about there are just going to be things that keep coming up. So just because the insurance company, paid you on the obvious issues, it seems to me like when they come out, they do a very short little, back and forth, and then they're gone. It's not like they're sitting out there looking for everything. They don't live in the home. They're not seeing it like we do.
There's no doubt about it. And I'll tell you, it's your burden to prove what you're damaged. It's not their burden to go out and prove what's damaged.
Right.
So just make sure that every opening that you have, that is a door, a window, a garage, a screen-in porch, every one of those items, I would be surprised to see a home that doesn't have some damage there. So think about how many thousands or tens of thousands of homes that are damaged, tens of thousands of homes that are damaged, where they don't have a savvy enough lawyer who knows to look for those things. And if you're some lawyer who hasn't handled 500 or 1,000 or however many thousands of claims, you're not even going to think to look for that. You're going to rely on whatever your estimator tells you, or whatever the public adjuster tells you. And if that public adjuster doesn't pick up on every little nuance, then you're not going to know that these things are damaged. Almost every window system, almost every door system has been profoundly affected. Remember, they're weaker parts. Which is stronger, a piece of glass or cement? Understand that the foundation of your home is stronger than the door which you bought from Home Depot. So just recognize that these things are so important. Don't give up on these claims. If your lawyer or your public adjuster doesn't have these in their estimate, then come to me and let me help you so that you make sure a year from now or 6 months from now or 6 weeks from now, you don't find cracks in your pavers, or you don't find your screened-in porch isn't working right, or your windows start not operating, and then you can't recover because you didn't make these claims in a timely and organized fashion, and you prejudiced yourself. I just can't emphasize it enough. You know, I'm screaming from the hilltops trying to tell people you need to do these things and not be satisfied with some partial payment that doesn't cover all of the damages that you know are either there or you don't know are there.
Which the list of that could be very long. There are so many things that could be an issue that you just don't know. I mean, that's the kind of one of the most shocking things about this is like, you know, I mean, who knows how long it would be before you can determine what certain kind of mold, is there. The window thing, you mentioned the windows often, and we've learned a lot about the window issue and how long it can take sometimes for you to know that there's damage there. By the way, I'm going to give his number out. If you want to get Scott Major on your side, you have a question, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. And their website, too, is stormhelpteam.org. More to come with Scott Major coming up next.
Good morning. More live and local in the morning. Coming up next with Kramer. This is News Talk at 101.
7:53. Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team with us today. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we got him. 844-800-LAWS. That's the phone number to call up and get Scott and Brian Parúas on your side. 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. And so, you know, again, 10 months after the hurricane, there are still some things that you need to do. If you're going to, you say this often, this is important, to me to note again, getting your money partly is up to you. And getting the insurance company the stuff that they need, very important, right?
Absolutely. And I can tell you, repeating this, just make sure you have looked at every aspect of your house, or you've had somebody you absolutely trust look at every aspect of your house, every little paver, every door, every single opening, every single aspect of your house, and make sure that you have properly and thoroughly made a claim for all of those damages. And for those people who survived this storm, all of you probably have moisture in your walls. And so you should probably think about mold remediation, either calling the Bioplanet company or one of the companies that can go out and test your home so that you don't have moisture and mold behind the walls that you're not aware of, because they're hidden, that can have an impact on not only your health, but on the condition of your property. And if you have any questions, you can dial the 844-800-LAWS number, and we can turn you over to either these companies that will do these kinds of mold remediations, or alternatively, they can do more thorough inspections, or can look at what you got from the insurance company and just make sure you're covered. This is your one opportunity. It may be your last opportunity. Make sure you're thorough and make sure you do the diligence to get the money you deserve.
844-800-LAWS. When it comes to mold, are we still having, if somebody is living in a camper, somebody told me this the other day that they were living, that one of their neighbors actually was living in a camper, and the house just sat there for so long, and they had mold in areas that they didn't know about. Even though they were going in and out of the home, there was, they're not living in it, so they're not noticing. And so there are a lot of homes that have been abandoned. Oh my God, I can't even imagine. Can you imagine what kind of mold is in a place like that after sitting out for 10 months? Oh.
A lot of them are, the mold is so bad you have to tear the house down because you can't treat the mold. But the most important thing is to get experts out there who can evaluate and treat that. There are companies, like I mentioned, this Bioplanet company, there are companies that specialize in taking care of killing every aspect of the mold in a certain way that it does not come back, or the incidence of it returning are very, very low. And you don't have it recirculating because you just sprayed some Clorox bleach and thought you killed the mold. It's very important for people to take this seriously, both from a health concern and from a future of your home concern, so that you don't have it coming back up. And many of you do have mold coverage, so the insurance company will compensate you for that. But even if you didn't, you need to make sure that in your homes, just because it's fixed, doesn't mean you don't have residual mold that you can't see that's affecting you.
Scott Major from Major Parúas and the Storm Help Team. The phone number again is 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS, and you can go to stormhelpteam.org. In fact, I've been noticing pretty active on social media too about getting the word out that you any of the shows that we do, you can get them at stormhelpteam.org. And two, it's been a while since we've said this, but if you have a condo or an association, condo association, or any kind of group, a neighborhood group of people, and you want to get Scott to come and speak, he will do that. All you have to do is call 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. Another awesome hour in the books, my friend. You take care and have a fantastic day, and thanks so much for being on and giving all the information, man.
Hey, thanks for all you do for the community. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me. You be well. Have a great day, man. A good weekend.
You too, buddy. I'll talk to you.